Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very empowering show coming right up with special guest Joseph Rosendo, and he's here to share with us his new book, Musings, The Short, Happy Pursuit of Pleasure and Other Journeys. So are you looking for the next great adventure? Many of you know our special guest. He's a travel connoisseur, motivational speaker, and 4-time Emmy-award winning director and host of Joe Rosendo's Travel Scope, which is the award-winning PBS travel television series. Joseph has been published worldwide and is a consulting editor for DK Eyewitness Travel Guides, Where to Go When, and Where to Go When the Americas, as well as the author of The Insider's Guide to Los Angeles. So let's welcome to the show, Joseph Rosendo.
Marianne, thank you very much for having me on your show. I really appreciate the kinds of things that you do with your show and the kinds of people that you have on your show. It's really something that's needed really now, right now.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about your new book. I mean, I was so excited when I saw it. I couldn't wait to talk to you. And I have to ask you, what inspired you to write your book?
Well, it's a collection. It's actually 3 books in one. It's a collection of stories that I put together for my travel magazine, Travel Scope, which was in print for many years and then is now on the internet on our website. People can get it at our website, travelscope.net. And so it's a collection from a column I've called Musings. And the book is Musings, The Short, Happy Pursuit of Pleasure and Other Journeys, and that's kind of what it is. And it's a collection of there are some how-to and tips, travel tips for people. There are travel destinations that I cover, and then it's a memoir as well. It kind of follows my journey. When I started writing and collecting the stories, and I started writing the column Musings so many years ago, I realized that my journey as a travel writer and as a traveler was very close to a travel story, because it had a beginning, a middle, there would be an end, but the most important part of the trip would be the journey. And so what inspired me to collect it, first of all, during the pandemic, over the course of the last year, I had the time. I was doing our PBS travel show, Travel Scope, Joseph Rosendo's Travel Scope, and so we were on hold for that. Everything else was locked down, and the desire that I had, or the dream that I had of putting these stories together, because I felt they had something to say, that this gave me the opportunity to do that. So the pandemic time this last year, I was able to spend the time, and it basically, like every good thing, it evolved. It started off to be a collection of just the stories that I had written, and then I started writing new stories, and I wrote introductions to the stories that I had written, and then I started bringing in photography and images, illustrations. I pulled the illustrations I had used in the original printed version of the magazine, so it made that tie-in from the years, the beginning of the Travel Scope experience, and where I was now. So it was really a wonderful opportunity, and I think the gist of the book, the idea of carpe diem, seizing the day like you do on your show, making the most of the moment, is the message of the book throughout. And I use different illustrations of that message by my travel experiences, and of course by my own personal experience. I incorporate events through my life with my family, and different things that happen throughout my life. Some of them travel based, and others really not, just part of our human journey. And I think that was something that was it's something necessary now. And I think this pandemic time, has, with all the tragedy that's connected to it, has some positive aspects to it as for individuals, and it's that we get to really appreciate and what we have and the relationships we had. And we've learned in a new way how important those moments that you are talking about and we all are talking about are, and how transitory they are, how quickly they leave us, and how we have to take the moments and make the most of it. You know, I've traveled in many countries, and I celebrate everybody's holiday. I celebrate all their festivals. I like to say I'll eat anything, I'll drink anything, and I'll do pretty much anything to have the experience. And I've learned that over this period of time that those moments that are presented to you are fleeting, and we need to make the most of them. We need to seize the day and appreciate what we have and make the most of it. And that's basically the story of the book.
Well, I love how you bring that all together because it's really about what's important and what matters. How did your upbringing, because I know you're Cuban American, how did that influence any part of your journey, becoming a travel writer?
Well, I think it put me in a situation when I was being raised in Miami, and I'm from Miami, Florida. The Cuban American population was not as dominant as it is now in the area, and so we were on the edges of society somewhat. And I learned about how important culture was, because my parents were first generation Americans, and they were very excited or enthusiastic about having us assimilate into a general American culture. That was fine, but we were kind of leaving our own culture behind along the way. So I learned by being in that position that how important culture is. Unfortunately, my grandparents and my aunts, they were still very much connected to their culture, so I was able to experience it and keep it alive through them. But then I had to regain it, and I had to recapture that sense of culture. So that gave me a sense of difference and how the value of different ways and different perspectives of looking at things. And, like my quote that I use in every show, every Travel Scope PBS show, and I use it in the book. I highlight where Mark Twain's quote, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness." It's something I think it's an axiom that travelers should carry with them. That I learned that through my family. And of course, I also had travel was an escape for us. The family was, on the lower economic scale. We were poorer, and so every experience was we made experiences that were inexpensive. The beach experiences, for instance, in the Miami area, and the one day a year that we would go on a trip, which was to my father's hometown birth town of Key West, Florida. It was only several hours away, but it was like the highlight of my life, and it was an escape. And I describe it in the book in several stories. Escape from the pressures of our economic situation, our financial situation, economic situation in Miami, and there was a sense of adventure to it, and that just caught me up, and it was a good time for the family. Everybody was at the peak of enjoyment, and that taught me that gave me the interest in traveling. And then in 1969, when I traveled abroad for the first time as a member of a USO show that was put together by UCLA, where I had come to California to work on my master's and to pursue an acting career. So I was cast in a show to entertain the troops in Germany. And the first night that we were there as honorary lieutenants, as members of the USO, and we were at dinner, and a waiter came up and asked us if we would like a wine, and my fellows put me in charge of tasting it. I was not very experienced, but I gave it a try. I'd seen movies. I knew what you did. And so I was, swirled the glass and put my nose in the glass to smell the wine. And then I sipped it, and I remember just turning the glass up and gulping it down, and my friend saying, Joseph, you're not supposed to gulp it. You're supposed to taste it. And I turned to the waiter and I said, whatever this is, I want more. And that really was what that was what that experience was all about. Because then I've got to see Europe and the history of Europe and all that's happened there, all the good things and all the horrible things that happened there, and the different perspective that people had on life, and it was a complete eye-opening experience to me, and I just caught the fleet fever of wanting more. It was the same thing. Whatever this is, I want more, and so, because of my sensitivity towards the importance of culture, and then the new cultures that I was experiencing, because we were in Germany entertaining the troops, and we really got to know Germany for 2 months. But at the end of the trip, we got to do a whirlwind tour of the rest of Europe on our own. I really started to have a sense of, this is what I want. I want this expanded view of life by incorporating all the things that these people have to share, all these different people in the world, all the things you learn. I'd like to say that when I go on a trip, I like to come back augmented. And I'm not talking about the 10 pounds extra from eating French pastries, although that happens too. I'm talking about augmented spiritually and intellectually and to be bigger than I am, better than I am, hopefully, from what I've learned from my travels. And that is the wonder of travel, is that it so much that you can learn. It offers you so much. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear, and the book is my guidebook, basically, for people to how to develop that kind of sensibility, so that when they travel, they come back augmented from their experiences, and they gain more from those moments that they see. And it's very interesting that your show is about making the most of the moments and talking about the moments. Because, Pico Iyer, a very wonderful travel writer, talks about the significant moment, going on a trip and seeking the significant moment, and with antenna out, looking for that significant moment that really basically encapsulizes what that experience that you're having, that trip is about, and what you're going to bringing back with you. Much better than souvenirs and trinkets that you're going to bring back with you, that's going to stay with you forever. Because these moments may be fleeting, but when you incorporate them into your life, they become never-ending and evergreen. So these are moments that your memories and your experiences when you're traveling, that are a learning experience and inspirational experience, you never lose those. So there is a way to kind of capture those moments and keep them by what you have when you travel. So that I think that's how my family background, and that's why the book is part travel tips, travel destinations, and also a memoir, because without you knowing my history and who I am, it's difficult to understand my take on even the tips I give, and certainly my take on the destinations I travel to and are incorporated in the book. So I think that's what my family gave me. They gave me a sensitivity to the importance of culture and to what is available for us to learn from different cultures.
Oh my goodness. How important is that in that trip, that first trip you took? Just, it sounds like it just was a pivotal point. It changed everything. Is that
everything.
when you decided, okay, no more acting for me. I'm a travel writer. This is it.
Well, actually, I did come back from that trip and I said, whatever this is, I want more. And I pursued. And then the other good thing to happen, I had my dream, and I didn't have any idea how to go about manifesting it. And that fortunately also at that time of my life, and that I ran across a quote from Henry David Thoreau. And the quote is, if one advances confidently in the direction of their dream and endeavors to live the life they have imagined, they will have a success undreamt of in common hours. And that said, okay, because the idea behind that is if you do that, then the universe moves to around your desire and your efforts to make them happen. Things that you never thought would take place, meetings that you never thought would take place, begin to happen to you and allow you to have the dream you have imagined. And so I did that. I took that to heart and said, okay, so my job is to endeavor on a daily basis to have this dream. And that was the beginning of the journey towards being a travel writer. Now, it took me 10 years from when I started. I went back to Europe several times to educate myself about what that experience was. And then it took me 10 years to actually write my first story, which I did, a nuts and bolts story on leasing a car in Europe for the Los Angeles Times. I think I made $50. But I was on that road, and I went to a seminar where I was taught by other travel writers of what was involved with this. I read books, but the idea was to endeavor to live the life I had imagined. So that was the goal, and every day I did something to it to pursue that. And it took a while, but then since 1980, I've been a travel writer, and I had a travel radio show, and now the television show, and we have I write blogs and podcasts, and we produce podcasts, and the book. The book is the latest manifestation of endeavoring to live the life I have imagined. So that's kind of how it all came together.
Well, and I love how in your book you talk about packing, because I think a lot of people, they look at that and they're like, oh my gosh, am I overpacking? Packing, it just seems like that packing can be a real tough thing. And I have some friends that are great at it and some that, will bring 5 suitcases no matter if they're gone for a week.
Yeah, my wife, I've been doing this since, for a long time. And I still sit there and look at the clothes and say, well, gee, should I take this shirt or that shirt or this? Fortunately, my wife, Julie, who is a producer of Joseph Rosendo's Travel Scope, the PBS show, and we've been together for, 15 years. And she becomes my helpmate, really, and makes the decisions lots of times for me. But in the early days, what I ended up doing, and I write about it in the book, to face this dilemma, is I ended up with creating a so-called travel uniform. I had my coat that I take on the trips, and had to have pockets and everything so I could put my tape recorders and my batteries, and I was also shooting pictures and writing at the time. So I needed a big backpack so I could carry all my, my recording equipment and my cameras, and but I basically developed a travel writer's uniform so it would be very easy. Take this coat, that shirt, those pants, those shoes, and you're ready to go. And I was able to hone it down. But there's so many wonderful tips on packing. Some people say put everything you want to take out take on the trip on the bed, and then put half of it back. But my problem is I can't ever decide which half I should put back. So it's been a trial. But the travel writing uniform helped me early on, and then thank God for my wife who continues to help me. And now that we're shooting the PBS television show, it becomes my clothes become costumes. So that becomes a whole that adds another element to the whole packing dilemma.
Well, thank goodness you have her to help you with that. You've got to have a good partner in crime.
Exactly.
Well, and it's interesting because in your book, you talk about like how there's just an art to travel. And it's interesting. I think a lot of times people don't really understand that. And I'd love for you to expound on that for our listeners. They just think I'm going to just grab all my stuff and go.
Yeah, no, there is an art to it, and there is. I do presentations at New York Times Travel Show and different places around the country. I speak at travel shows. I speak to groups, as kind of motivational wellness expos and things like that, and talk about the experience of traveling, and of course highlight destinations, which is what people like to see too. And yeah, the basic, the art of traveling is got a lot to do with where you put your intention and what you're traveling for. Now, people travel for many reasons, and people travel for many reasons at different times in their life and different times in the year. So, but there's an underlying art to traveling, because I feel you need to put yourself in a certain kind of frame of mind and have a certain perspective on the experience that will allow things to happen to you. Have good things happen to you, I'm talking about. And you do that by opening up your heart, opening up your mind, being available for the experience, making an effort, reaching. That's why I always say, when you travel, and you should, if you travel to a foreign country, learn a bit of the language, enough of the language to put people at ease so that they'll open up to you. Part of that was my method when I was doing the radio show and getting interviews, and doing the television show, to have interactions that I could capture on film or on video. And part of that was my method for doing that. But that's everybody. I did that before when I was just traveling for my own pleasure, because if you put yourself in a situation, if you're mindful about the encounter and you open yourself up to the experience, and you banish fear as much as you can, fear the unknown, and real fear. People. One of the things that holds people back is traveling afraid. I'm not saying that people should be foolish or reckless, but I do think that you need to realize that the world is actually a safer place than we all seem to think it is, or are told it is, and that you can open yourself up. You can make an effort. It's up to us to create the situation. Nobody's going to do your trip for me. That's one of the things I always disliked about the old, if it's Tuesday, it must be Belgium type of tours that people just went through ticking off landmarks. Oh, we see the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe. Oh, I was at the Colosseum. Okay, so you have your list of things that you've seen. Fine, it's checked off. That's all wonderful. But the experiences we remember are the times when we opened ourselves up and we had an encounter with someone, in a cafe, or someone shared something with us. I have a million of those experiences, and those experiences become life-changing. They are, during my talks at the travel shows and stuff, I have one subject called, travel is a life-changing experience. And the life-changing experiences are the experiences that prioritize things for you, and they're all available in the world of travel when you're out there. They're wow experiences, like jumping into the Devil's Pool in Victoria Falls. That was quite a wow experience. But what's really the experiences that really changed my life, and the experiences that really changed people's lives, are the experiences that make you look at life in a different way, or give you a new perspective and add meaning to your life, and allows you to change your priorities. And from that moment forward, you start being different in the world. And the wonder of travel and the wonder of this world that's out there that we're trying to all get back to, and we're all going to be hungry for. I expect that travel is going to explode once we feel safe enough to go out there and meet people again. The wonder of all that is that there's a myriad of opportunities for you to have those experiences that from this point forward, things are different. And I've had, fortunately, a number of them. I mentioned one, the main one for me as a travel writer, going to Europe with the USO show. But there's been a lot of that over the course of my life. There's been a number of those kinds of experiences connected to the travel experiences. But the art of traveling is traveling open-hearted, lower the fear quotient, listen, learn, go prepared. I always do research for my shows, of course, and for my writing. That part as a journalist, I had to research the destination. You want to know about the people you're going to be experiencing and the places you're going to see and the history behind it. I mean, it's overwhelming. So you need to do your work. There's an art to it. You need to prepare for a trip. It's not just a matter of buying that airplane ticket and hopping on the plane. You can do it that way, and you still will have wonderful experiences, but you can enrich your experience by preparing yourself like you would prepare yourself for anything important. Travel is a big investment, and it's not cheap to go to Europe anymore or to go anywhere anymore. And it's an investment in time, and it's an investment in effort, and it's an investment in your who you are. You're investing in something. Look at it that way, that you are putting out, you need to invest in it in order to get a return. It doesn't happen by just endeavor to live the life you will imagine, and things will come to you. But if you walk, some people, I'm afraid, travel and they could go anywhere. They could be in a hotel, and that hotel could be anywhere. That's why I love to go to destinations that force you to be immersed in the destination and the people. That's why I love India as a destination, because you can be in the finest hotel in the most Western hotel in the world in any place in India, and you step outside the door, and India grabs you by the throat and starts thrashing you around. And in 3 blocks, you'll have 30 things happen to you that have never happened to you before in your life. You'll smell, feel, hear, just be a completely eye-opening experience. And sometimes it's too much for people. That's India, is not a destination for everybody to travel to because it's such an overload of sense of experiences. But so you have to do what you can do. But that's why I love that, because when I'm there, there's no way I can miss the experience, and the places that you can travel to that make it easy for you to have these life-changing and experiences are where I recommend people go. And that's when I do my shows and I highlight destinations. Those are the kind of destinations I highlight.
Well, it sounds so exciting when you do it that way, because you really are immersing yourself in another culture and really getting the full experience as opposed to just being a visitor.
Exactly. You never want to be, you never want to sightsee. You know what I mean. You don't want to isolate yourself from the experience and just observe or sightsee, if you will, as if it's over there. You want to be in the moment. You want to relish the good and the bad and ugly of the experience. Not all of it's pretty. Travel is difficult sometimes. There's arrangements. There's the insecurity of being in a new place. There's a language hurdle that to overcome. So it's work in some regards, but it's so valuable work. It's such good work, and what work it is, and your rewards are so many if you travel with the right sensibility, the right spirit, and if you see it as art. And that you're creating, it's an art also because you're creating the moments. You're creating that experience. You can't sit back and wait and expect somebody to create it for you. That's like I was saying. That's why I hated if it's Tuesday, it must be Belgium experience, where somebody led you around by the nose. Nowadays, tour companies, thank God, got the idea that people want experiences, authentic experiences with people. So they've given people time on the trips to go off on themselves. They've given them the information and say, okay, you got this afternoon off. And people who take advantage of that and just don't go back to the ship and have lunch there, but have lunch out and have an experience, those are the people that come back with the most for their money. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, you can't buy experiences like that. It's so intense. And it has me thinking, I mean, my goodness, because I know Julie is so highly, gifted at the work that she does. You both are these great professionals. How is it for the both of you traveling? Because it must be a completely different experience when you've got like a crew in tow and everyone there and you're just working.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, traveling with the person you love has always been my dream, because I knew that what would make an experience richer would be to share it with somebody who was like-minded. And so throughout my life, in different relationships, that was kind of like, and I have one of the stories in the book is about that experience, seeking the loved one, traveling with the prospective loved one, and what a test traveling can be. Some people will fail that test, but it's good to know now before you start out on other experiences with them. So yes, so that was always my dream, and I'm fortunate to have had that experience, and I have that experience with my wife. Now, we also work together, which puts a whole new twist on the experience. And, we are both strong creative professionals. It took us a while to figure out what she should be in charge of on those trips, and who, handling the crew. And she's the producer, and what producer things were, because I did a travel radio show for 23 years, right up till when I met Julie. And so I was all of it. I was the producer, the writer, the director, the host, and everything. And on TravelScope, the PBS show, I'm the host and the writer and the director, but she's the producer. So what are those duties that belong to the producer, and what are those duties that belong to the director, and how do you respect each other, differences, and also lay off and don't step on people's toes and step on your loved one's toes is an art too. That's the art of traveling with your wife, and working together is definitely an art. And it's we've had some tough times because of how difficult that is sometimes, but it's also been rich. Julie and I have been married. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I get this right. We got married in 2007, so we've been married almost 14 years, and it's like we've been married 28 years because we're together all the time, and we've gone through thick and thin, and there's nothing like being in production. And we have a very small crew. There's just the cameraman and the sound guy and Julie and I, and so it's we don't have a lot of people a lot of cats to corral, but it still makes it difficult. But over the course of the time, it's been a learning experience for us, but it's been a very rich experience, and we have been able to create what we've created together, and also continues to stay married, which is a trick.
Well, hey, I'm applauding you both all the way, and I'm in complete awe, because to be able to do this and also work together, is another component in it. And then plus travel, because you hear about couples, they go on trips, just travel, not with the work component. And sometimes it can be super stressful.
Yeah, it can be. You have different interests, you have different ways of being in the world, and travel is not absolutely smooth. It's a new experience, and every day you're having new encounters. And there's not something if you're a kind of person who likes everything to be in order and comfortable, and you don't like the unexpected, then I like to say that people should travel expecting the unexpected, wanting the unexpected, waiting or leaving themselves open for unexpected things to happen. Some of the best parts of and I talk about this in the book, and some of the best parts of the show, the travel show, and my radio show were those things I didn't expect to happen. We were just there in the moment, to go back to your show and your emphasis, the moment presented itself. And it was like God-given. I like to say that, God is our gaffer, because these things would fall into place, and you go, okay, this is what we're here for. When we go to markets, that's why I go to markets a lot. I love markets when I'm traveling for just Julie and I, or when we're traveling to shoots. We always include a segment where we go into a marketplace, because that's where the people are, and that's where interactions are richest, and they're happening, and there's people that know each other, and there's strangers, and there's tourists, and everybody's in there. And when we get ready to walk into a market to start to shoot, I just turn to the cameraman, the sound guy, and Julie, and I say, okay, here we go. Let's go get it. And we just walk in there, and we walk up to people, and everything's very spontaneous. It makes it very, very difficult to shoot and get complete stories. But it's the richest parts of some of those shows are those experiences, because we're just open to let them happen.
That's got to be so amazing, because you don't know what to expect. And that's where all the miracles happen, That's where all the fun comes into play. Yeah. And my goodness, you have so much that's in your book, because, you of course you have the memoir piece, but you have so much great information in your book. I was even surprised that you had the section that even talks about, like, when you go to the market, if you really want something, how to go ahead and barter or haggle.
Yes, and also the philosophy of bargaining. Yeah, once again, you're trying to have a cultural experience. A lot of people say, well, why bargain for that? It's so cheap anyway. You are trying to have you're not trying to take advantage of anybody. Certainly, you're not. But bargaining is an interesting cultural exchange. And some of the best experiences I've had, once again, is with vendors and bargaining with them, and I mean, really sweet and funny experiences. And I've always tried to keep it. Everybody wins. That's the most important tip for bargaining. Is at the end, everybody has to feel like they won. And there are some good things to remember. And in some places, I feel not bargaining is part of acknowledging that this is a culture and this is a cultural trait or a cultural attribute. That's how people deal. And you're trying to I always feel like when you're traveling, the goal is to be as much like the people that you're visiting as you can. And it's difficult to do. You're always going to be outside the norm there for the people. But bargaining is a doorway in, because they want to deal with you. They want to talk to you. You exchange humor. You exchange different kinds of emotions. And you find a common compromise. That's one way you compromise. And for people to come to an agreement as different cultures about anything is a gigantic confidence building plus, and it's an affirmation of who we are as human beings, and an affirmation of how similar we are. To find agreement on anything, and finding agreement on a price is a good place to start. And not walking in and just saying, oh, I'm from a rich country, I can pay whatever I want, so what does this mean to me? That it's better to walk in and have people respect you and how much you value what they've done, that you're willing to negotiate with them about that. I mean, I always negotiate in a way so that it ends up that they make sure that the vendor benefits, and don't ever leave people be so hard-nosed that the people end up being angry with you. But people respect your participation in their life, and that's one way. Any way to make a connection. And in a market where people are selling stuff and you're buying, that's one way to make a connection, I think. I think I give out some good tips, don't you?
Oh my goodness. Lots of good tips. Joseph, we could keep you here forever and talk about your new book. There's so much great information in your book. We're not even touching the tip of the iceberg on that. Where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work and be part of your community?
Well, the easiest way to connect with TravelScope and to follow our travels is to go to our website, travelscope.net. That's the easiest place. There's my blogs are there, my podcasts are there. They'll see promos of our different PBS television shows. The book is front and center on the home page, and they can get the book by going to Amazon and iBooks in digital forms and as a paperback in Amazon. And they can contact us directly through the website, and I'd be happy they can get the book through us directly. And in that case, I can also sign the book for them as well. So the best thing to do is Amazon iBooks for the book directly, or go to travelscope.net. And travelscope.net, they can sign up for, subscribe to our online version of the newsletter that was the birthplace of many of these stories that are in the book. So they can also sign up, and we'll keep them on our free. It's free. The newsletter is free. The online newsletter is free for any of our subscribers. So yeah, travelscope.net's the best place to go.
Oh gosh, so much great resources right there. Well, Joseph, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
I really appreciate your taking the time to speak with me and giving me the time to be able to share the book and the TravelScope experience with your listeners. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Well, thank you, Joseph. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Musings, The Short, Happy Pursuit of Pleasure and Other Journeys. Musings is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, ask for them to order it. And of course, you can get that on Kindle. Again, if you'd like to connect with Joseph Rosendo, you can at travelscope.net for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.